Welcome to the ITW Executive Interview Series. I'm Bill Yates, and today we've got with us Eric Cevis from Verizon. Now, Eric, I should think most of our audience know who you are, but maybe for the few who don't, do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, your company, and the work you're currently doing?
Absolutely, Bill. Thank you so much, and so glad to be here to do this interview. Once again, the name is Eric Cevis. I'm currently the president of what we call Verizon Partner Solutions. That is our global wholesale business unit within the corporation. Once again, I've been in the industry like 37 years, and it's just great to represent Verizon, which is like a Fortune 30 corporation, $125 billion of revenue. And my current role is selling Verizon's wireline, wireless, and we'll call it above the network products and services to resellers in the carrier community.
That's great. And you're coming to speak on the agenda this year at ITW, as you've done before. So what topic are you covering?
Yeah, glad to be coming and being a part of the ITW conference as usual. The topic this year is really kind of talking about shaping the future of global connectivity. And clearly, we think connectivity is the biggest thing, particularly in the telecom and the technology space. And so I'm going to share talking about global connectivity, kind of reimagined in this type of environment, and the importance of connections and the things that we need to do in connecting in this environment for the network and bandwidth requirements of our customers for ease of doing business.
So you've just spoke about why the topic's important for you to cover. What about the event? Why is ITW an important place for you to come and do what you're going to do?
Oh, it's a great event. The mere fact that you can bring together global telecom executives across the world into one forum over a 2-3 day period of time to really talk about best practices, lesson learned, kind of a future evolution of technology really shapes and molds kind of our growth narrative in this space going forward. We know that connectivity is such a big equation. The world needs to communicate. And how do we connect ourselves, whether it's our wireline services like Ethernet and Wave and internet services, or our wireless services? For example, we're seeing great traction building things like fixed wireless access, where now POTS replacement and TDM migration in our industry are so real. And the fact that we have catch products that can care for that evolution from wireline to even wireless services is a big deal for us. And then being able to talk about things that we're doing, say, with Blue Jeans video conferencing or security, as we continue to look at security threats in the industry. Other thing that gets me excited about coming to this session is I'm also on the Global Leaders Forum, Bill, and the work that we're doing there is powerful as we work across 30-some carriers across the globe, trying to look at things like interoperability. How do we deal with fraud, blockchain, and taking advantage of that? And you may or may not know, Bill, I'm also kind of the chair of our diversity, inclusion, and belonging working group within the Global Leaders Forum. And it's always exciting because we get to introduce now our next white paper. We did a white paper on gender imbalance at ITW. We've done one on racial equity. We've done one on inclusivity. So our fourth white paper will be released at ITW. So we're really excited to look at the progress we've made with diversity, equity, inclusion, but just as importantly, looking at going forward, what has happened through COVID, and has COVID impacted negatively or positively the work that we're doing from diversity, equity, inclusion? And then the last thing we're finding in the white paper this year, Bill, is what do we need to do in our industry around reskilling and upskilling our talent so that people can continue to stay abreast of the technology evolution and change and the things that we're going to do around this particular area with training programs. So we're going to launch our own MBA-like, accelerator program in this particular industry. So it's just an exciting time. And I think the last thing I'd tell you I get excited about when we go back to this term of interoperability is we're going to be talking about APIs. And what are we doing, whether it's MEF standards or TM Forum standards, what are we doing to make sure that we can provide platforms and portals by which we can create this digital transformation, easy customer experience of how do we do business together from a connectivity base in our industry?
That's a whole lot of vital topics there. And as you rightly say, Eric, we can catch the new report coming out at ITW this year. Yes. And we've covered a lot of areas here. What do you think is going to be most important development over the next 12 months? What's going to make a really big difference?
Yeah, I think the biggest development is going to be our continued capital expense, if you will, investment that we're putting forward. Really, in our network, Verizon has infiltrated about $120 billion in the past 2 to 3 years around building out our network, looking at C-band and 5G applications. How do we build out more private networks in multi-access edge compute where we take latency out of the network so we can support things from a connectivity basis like autonomous cars or robotic surgery? A lot of the use cases I think are going to be great as we talk among our industry to figure out what do we do to once again make the world and our life and society a better place to work, live, and go through each and every day because of the connectivity that we make happen. So I'm excited to hear what investments people are doing in new technology, how those investments will continue to make life easier for us from a connectivity standpoint. And from that, see what more we can do in wireline services, what more can we do in wireless services, and then as I mentioned, above the network, those other pull through things like security and video conferencing, for example.
That's a lot of areas to cover, and we're going to be looking at pretty much all of them at the event in National Harbour. Is there one topic that you're really looking forward to getting your teeth into in terms of discussion on site? What are you most looking forward to finding out more about from maybe the other speakers or attendees?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm looking for is kind of what are we building from 5G use cases, and how do we continue to transition our industry as we kind of moved out of 3G. We still have a lot of application that's supported on 4G, but as bandwidth demands and requirements continue to build out, what are we doing relative to 5G and edge computing so that once again we can drive latency out of our network and leverage this as a way to bring new use cases to the forefront, whether it's in financial services, hospitality, transportation, you name the vertical. We have the ability with the technology and the investments we're making in network connectivity to once again show ourselves in a leadership position in the industry.
Definitely has a lot of topics and a lot to get involved with next week at ITW. Well, this week by the time we see this. So Thanks very much for joining us again, Eric. Always a pleasure, and can't wait to see you at the event.
Great. Thanks so much, Bill. Looking forward to it. And we'll be at the National Harbor there in my great state of Maryland. Thank you.